everyone, Tim Curry in heavy makeup here with Rhyme Signatures, the nerdiest music review this side of being the greatest on-screen portrayal of the Dark Lord himself, with the possible exception of Dave Grohl. And today we're going to be doing a review of the new Fires in the Distance album. Air Not Meant for Us. I can vividly remember as a wee lad listening to a compilation CD that featured alternating tracks from both Bonnie Tyler and Meatloaf, and it was affectionately titled Heaven and Hell, presumably because the husky tones of Tyler were the heavens and the powerful pipes of Mr. Loaf were the hells. And that, I suppose, was likely my first exposure, musically at least, to the idea of contrast within an entertainment medium. The idea that you can have these passages of light, ethereal, major key happiness juxtaposed against the lyrically sinister, the instrumentally aggressive and dirty. I mean, yes, this compilation CD was somewhat tame by today's standards in terms of extremities, but there was still something to be said of the tonal shift in going from total eclipse of the heart straight into bat out of hell. The point I'm trying to make, I suppose, is that music has done this trick many times over the decades. There's always been an appeal to having these shifting, angular, opposing forces working against each other, and modern metal has been doing this better than anyone else. Opeth, Neobliviscaris, Scar Symmetry, Between the Buried Me, Will to Run, to name but a few, have all flirted and embraced the ideas and theming of mixing up the light and the shade, and have all made excellent careers out of doing so. So, enter Connecticut-based melodic doom/death metal band Fires in the Distance stage left. Air Not Meant for Us is the band's sophomore release, and my first exposure to the band. Now, I'd had a lot of buzz on this one on my socials, so I kind of felt duty-bound to explore this further, especially given the praise that was being lauded onto the band's blending of night and day. Consisting of Craig Breitsprecher on bass and vocals, Jordan Ripper on drums, Yegor Savonin on guitars and synth, and Christian Grimaldi on guitars and vocals, this four-piece have cut themselves a very ambitious slice of the pie with their sophomore release, and they've neatly avoided any potential slump to bring us a magnificent slice of melodic death metal that deserves maximum attention from anyone that considers themselves a fan of the genre. This record is good, very good in fact, but this is not an album that you can expect an immediate call and response from, at least not in my experience with it. It took me a good 5 or 6 listens before it really started to click, to make sense if you will. But as I've always said, I would rather have a slow burn album that takes its time in worming its way into my psyche than a quick fix record that I get burnt out of after a week of listening to it. We, fans of melodic death metal that is, were treated rather nicely earlier in the year with Insomnium's new record Anno 1696, which, despite my lack of review on it, mostly due to simply not having enough hours in the day to do so, was a fantastic slice of pounding melodies and fierce grooves. Fires in the Distance have done the rare and unexpected thing for me though, and have made that record, by one of my favourite melodeath bands I might add, look boring and unexciting in comparison. Hats off to these guys. With only 2 records under their belt now, they have been able to advertise themselves as the great hope of the genre, and fingers crossed showcase themselves as the ones to watch going forward. So let's take a little look at Air Not Meant for Us structurally. This is a 6-track album at around 50 minutes of music, so the songs on here are beefy, with the shortest track coming in at just over 6 minutes and the longest at nearly 11. These songs are long, intricate, and have been given plenty of room to grow and fester their ideas and themes over the course of their runtime. It's really nice that everything gets the chance to breathe. Nothing on this record feels rushed or forced out the door. I think principally what I like most about Air Not Meant for Us over other more recent examples of the genre is the importance that Fires in the Distance have placed upon atmosphere and texture within the music. I mean, yes, okay, sure, all the usual expected tropes of melodic death metal are here and present. There's the heavy emphasis on the riffs, the flow, the tempo, and the brutality of it all, but underneath all of that, the band have crafted this firm bedrock with the bass and the drums that keeps the album steady and absorbing. There's almost a kind of, a world-crafting feel to the music, like it sucks you into this blackened and despondent environment, full of the kind of oppression and despair that the album art suggests. And a lot of this harkens back to my point earlier on in this video, the heaven and the hell. I mean, the hell is most immediate and obvious, with Christian Grimaldi's deep, bassy, rolling vocals just utterly fantastic, equal parts threatening and very clear in their message. But the rhythm guitars, of course, help to add to this brutality, feeling punishing and thick, crafting that texture that I was talking about before. But then there's the heaven, and easily the highlight of the record for me. Yegor Savonin's synth and keyboard work is immaculate, and opening track Harbingers shows off the band's modus operandi perfectly at around the halfway point, with this delicate, beautiful, layered piano solo, offering a break from the suffocating fog of the hell that led us up to this point. We're thrust back into the thick of things soon enough, though, and the synth manages to act in this incredible fashion of highlighting the ferocity of the guitars and the vocals. A lot of bands who adhere to the mixing of the night and the day do so vocally, shifting focus between operatic cleans and demonic growls. Case in point, Rolo Tomasi, Neoblivis Scaris, Dreadnought. What I like a lot about how Fires in the Distance manage it is the subtlety. Grimaldi is vicious and aggressive at all times on the microphone, and the dips in the savagery in the music are few. But it's how the synth manages to weave the light into the darkness, rather than parallel to it, that I appreciate. It's a subtle but effective technique that allows these brief moments of sunshine that seep through the fog, rather than ever fully breaking through the clouds. There's a moment on final track, Idiopathic Despair, that I particularly like, where the keyboards act almost like a kind of syncopated percussion in the background towards the climax of the song. It's subtle and easy to overlook, but when you hear it, you appreciate just how big, how layered and interesting it makes the rest of the music sound. And honestly, it's these moments woven throughout the album that really make this one stand out for me. I mean, yes, the guitars are fantastic. Some of the riffs on this record have stuck with me for days afterwards. You know, I keep finding myself randomly, absent-mindedly humming them during the course of the day. But it's the deeper details that made me appreciate Air Not Meant For Us much, much more. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't a record that I found immediately gratifying. It takes its time, it's big, it's loud, and it's sonically dense. The production is fantastic, mind you. Every instrument is clear in the mix, with nothing feeling like it's drowning out the rest. There's a nuance to it all, where the lead instrument always stands at the front, but it never covers the rest of the music in its shadow. This density, as I say, does come at a price, though, as a first listen might find you uncertain as to where to focus your attention. I mean, there is a lot going on in each track, after all, and I found that it was only after really about 5 or 6 listens that I started to appreciate what was going on in the album. Picking out my favourite moments, you know, the parts that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand out, and etc, etc. But I like this kind of musical arrangement and complexity. I like a record to treat me with respect, to show off its layers and secrets with the time I invest into it. I mean, I'm all for fast food music, don't get me wrong here, but that isn't the stuff that stays with me for years. I need music that I will discover new things about in 5 years' time. Music that carries a maturity and confidence in what it's displaying. And Fire in the Distance have done precisely that with Air Not Meant For Us. Don't expect to love this record from the first spin, as it simply isn't that kind of album. This is a record for the long winter nights, an album to take your time with, to really breathe in the full scope of its ambition and nuance. I've spent quite a few nights now listening to this one with the lights off, the door closed, and a big "go away doing music stuff" sign on the door. Now, I don't feel that this will be a record for everyone. If you've never really vibed with melodic death metal, this still likely won't convert you. But if you're already invested in the genre, then you can't afford to miss this one. Fires in the Distance are a young band, but with this sophomore release, they have rocketed up the list on my ones to watch, and I can't wait to see where their career takes them. So, what else can I say about Fire in the Distance's Air Not Meant For Us? Now, melodic death metal is so often a genre that I tend to take at face value. I'm in it for the riffs, the brutality, the energy and the passion of it all, but I rarely read into more than what's presented to me on a surface level. I feel that Air Not Meant For Us has slightly upped the game in that respect, given how long it took me to penetrate the outer shell of this record's complexities. I feel I've developed a closer, more appreciative relationship with it than, say, something from Omnium Gatherum or Insomnium, my otherwise favourite bands within the genre. This is an easy recommendation to pick this up in physical format, guys. Fires in the Distance are a young band, like I've said, and supporting them at this stage I feel is very important. And given the quality of this album, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Check them out on tour as well if you can, as this material is certain to absolutely slay on stage. This is all, of course, guys, just my opinion, as you know, so if you have listened to this record, please tell me what you thought about it in the comments down below. If there's anything else coming out this year that you think was within my wheelhouse, you think I'd vibe and maybe I should check out, please do let me know about it. I always want to hear new music. If you did like this video, please do share it around with anyone else you think would enjoy it. And as always, guys, please do consider subscribing to the channel for some more content. And of course, if you really do love what I do, please consider clicking my Ko-fi link in the description box down below to help support the channel. And until next time, guys, keep your rhyme signatures odd.